The NBA player who died on the court. Personally, I think that when we look at players, we see how strong they were. We see that they're so full of life and fighting fit, and we expect them that they'd be probably the last person that death would seek. I mean, athletes commit their life to a healthy and fit lifestyle where they exercise each and every single day, so to see them pass away at such a young age is truly tragic, and it tells us of how fragile life really is. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about an NBA All-Star who lost his life on the court, Reggie Lewis. Let's first talk about how he reached the court in the first place. It all started when he was a child. He was born on November 21st, 1965 in Baltimore, Maryland, and as we know, Baltimore is also known as the murder capital of the United States. His mom, a single mother, was a huge inspiration to him, and not for the reasons you're thinking. In fact, it was the opposite. His mom battled with devastating addictions. He would often catch his mom at home getting high, which obviously took a toll on him. But instead of letting it get to him, he took it out as a way to motivate himself to push through and find his life's passion and get out of there. Thankfully, he did find his passion in basketball. He dedicated his life to making a name for himself in basketball. But however, when he finally made it into high school, he was cut from his high school basketball team. He didn't let that get down to him though, and he worked harder and harder, and when he felt that he was good enough, he changed schools and decided to try out for Baltimore's prestigious high school, Dunbar High, and it was at Dunbar that the history was made. Reggie joined forces with future NBA players Muggsy Bogues, David Wingate, and Reggie Williams as the sixth man in this historic high school basketball team. And I think that this team had 4 future NBA players is just insane. Like, imagine you just took an algebra test that day thinking about having to play against 4 NBA players later that night. Yikes. The Dunbar Poets didn't lose a single game over the next 2 years, and even to this day, they're still regarded as the greatest high school basketball team of all time. Like, these guys were just unstoppable. But even with all this historic success, it was hard for Reggie to celebrate because every time he looked up into the stands, his mama was nowhere to be found. And she was out somewhere else battling her own demons, and although his mother not being there was truly heartbreaking for him, Reggie didn't give up hope. He continued to use her as motivation to change their lives, and following high school, Reggie had officially made a name for himself and he had a full scholarship to play at Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts. However, Reggie felt as though he wasn't getting the same credit the other Dunbar boys were. So being at Northeastern University, Reggie had a chance to play in the starting lineup. He knew this was the biggest moment of his life and his last chance to prove that he belonged in the NBA. Reggie came into college on fire, carrying Northeastern to the NCAA tournament in just his first year. It was clear that this guy was indeed an NBA All-Star in the making. His sophomore year ended up being the same year that Reggie met his second half, the woman who eventually became his wife, Donna Harris. Donna played an essential role in Reggie's life by serving as his backbone and becoming a new source of motivation, this time, however, being the positive one. Reggie absolutely loved this woman unlike the other women in his life, and his mom, she couldn't stand for him, and Donna couldn't stand her from the very beginning. His mom felt like Donna was there as an opportunist trying to ride the wave of a future NBA player, while Donna was trying to convince Reggie to cut his mom off altogether, saying, quote, "Once an addict, always an addict." She was concerned that his mom would try to take benefit of him as he found success, and this became an internal battle for years to come. I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like, the 2 most important people in Reggie's life hating each other, but Reggie stayed focused. He spent 4 years total in Northeastern, scoring 2,708 points, shattering the previous record by over 600 points and setting a record that still stands to this day. He spent his entire life up to that point pushing and fighting for a chance to change his family's destiny. After getting out of college, Reggie finally had the chance to do so. So when it was time for the NBA draft, he walked into an arena with thousands of other NBA hopefuls. The Celtics ended up drafting him being the 22nd overall pick, and Lewis didn't see a ton of playing time during his rookie season. However, in his sophomore year, thanks to a change of coaching staff and an injury to Bird, Reggie found himself suddenly playing 32.8 minutes per game. He definitely made the most of this opportunity, putting up 18.5 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 2.7 assists per game. Those numbers continued to improve incredibly over the next several years, as expected, because of how much he had continued to improve throughout his life. In the 1991-92 season, Reggie received his first and only All-Star selection. Reggie scored 20.8 points per game in both of his final seasons with the Celtics, and he consistently raised his level of play during the postseason, averaging as many as 28.0 points per game in the 1991-92 playoffs. By all means, Reggie was attentive to make the leap to the team's go-to scorer for the rest of the 90s, and he played for the NBA for 6 seasons, and he made a huge name for himself, which will always be remembered. He even got praised by one of the most famous and legendary players ever, Michael Jordan. However, everything changed on April 29, 1993, in a playoff game against the Hornets, when Reggie collapsed mid-game on the court. After a while, he was able to get up and return to the bench. He even tried to get back into the game, but eventually decided it was better to leave after continuing to feel dizzy and short of breath. The next day, Reggie underwent a huge amount of tests run by team doctors, who ended up diagnosing him with a serious heart condition, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, that could prove to be career-ending and possibly fatal, but another doctor concluded that it was a much less serious and non-fatal condition. But sadly, he was soon proved to be wrong. The doctor later claimed that he did not authorize Reggie to resume workouts. However, I highly doubt that. What do you guys think? Did he really warn Reggie? I don't know, man. It's hard to believe that a man like him would avoid what the doctor said completely. I mean, even if he didn't comply, his team should have considered his health first. But I guess they didn't give a crap as he began preparing for the next season anyway. His decision proved to be a stupid one when at the offseason practice on July 27, 1994, Reggie Lewis collapsed again while playing and died due to sudden cardiac arrest. A police officer on the site tried to revive him by performing mouth-to-mouth CPR, but he was not successful. Reggie was only 27 years old and at the peak of his career, and he was shifted to a hospital named Waltman Weston and pronounced dead 2 hours later. It was found that the cause of his death was in fact the condition that he was diagnosed with a couple of months previous. I don't know what to say, call it a failure on his part or the doctor that concluded that the condition wasn't serious. I mean, the condition that he was diagnosed with is known to cause death in athletes at a young age. In my opinion, the doctor should have been more transparent and Reggie should have been more careful. His drive that was keeping him going for so long ended up taking his life. So what are your thoughts on this one, guys? Do you think his death could have been prevented? Perhaps he shouldn't have been allowed to play after his diagnosis? Could the doctor be blamed for the death? Or even his team, the Celtics? I think it's a pretty sensitive topic, but it should be discussed more often in order to prevent more deaths from happening like this. Let us know in the comments down below if you even heard about this before. I doubt you did. Well guys, that's it for today's video. Let us know what your thoughts on this tragic death are in the comments down below. We hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys next time. Have a great day.